Hi everyone, Ben Taylor here and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be showing you how that you can use Photoshop to make skin look beautiful and smooth. Let's roll that intro. So these days everyone is walking around with a camera. It may be on their mobile phone, it might be a point and shoot, or it could even be a DSLR camera. And this means that people are taking more and more photos. Now, I only need to have proof of that by going on my social media like Facebook and Instagram to see that my friends are uploading photos nearly every single day. Now, that's a wonderful thing, right? Because you can capture a moment in time and then you can share that with your friends, or you can even keep it so you can look back on it like a keepsake memory. The problem is, sometimes when you take a picture and you think you've got the perfect one, someone in the picture could be looking pretty bad. And that's because maybe they've had some drinks the night before, or even maybe they just didn't get any sleep. So today, I'm going to show you how that you can make people's skin look really smooth and you can remove the blemishes. Now this tutorial is not about showing you how to completely change the way someone looks, because I think it's important to keep things looking natural. So without further ado, let's jump right into today's tutorial and get started. Okay, so this is the picture that we're going to be using for today's tutorial. So I understand that this is not a picture of someone that looks terrible from the night before, but I wanted this tutorial to be aimed at a couple of different people really. And they were people which are portrait photographers, which want to improve the look of their photos, and also other people which are just taking photos but just want to improve the look of the people in the photos as well. So this photo here has actually got some blemishes in it which we can take care of. So to see them, we want to zoom in. To zoom in, all you need to do is press Control and then the plus sign on your keyboard, and that will zoom in. Then just move around by pressing your space bar and grabbing the screen, and then just zoom in again, and you can see that she's got some blemishes on her forehead here. There's also a few on her face and down by the chin. So the very first thing we want to do is take care of the blemishes in the picture, and then after we've done that, we can then take the next step in this process, which is to really smooth out the skin and make it look beautiful. So the first thing we want to do is create a new layer. Now to do that, all you have to do is come down here and press on the new layer button. I press 2, let's delete that one. Alternatively, you can also press Control, Shift and N on your keyboard, which is the shortcut. If you're on the Mac, press Control, Shift and N. Now we've got our new layer, let's go ahead and take care of these blemishes. So if you come over to this section here, which is the tools, you can see this little area here which looks like a plaster, I'd say, or a band-aid. If you click on that, you'll see a bunch of options here. Now, we're not going to go right into all of these different tools here, because these tools actually all take care of skin and they're really good at doing that. We're just going to focus on the spot healing brush tool. But I've actually created a course which takes you from start to finish in the process of skin retouching, and in that course I go through all of these tools, how to use them, and it's perfect for people like beginners who have got no experience at all and they want to get involved in learning how to retouch skin and then retouch portrait images. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, go ahead to the description area and then you can just go into the link there. There'll be a 70% off coupon which you can just click through to, and then you can get the course next to nothing. Also, if you want to join along with this tutorial, there will also be the picture in the description area of YouTube as well. This will be below the video that you've clicked on. You can just click on that, it will say tutorial link, and then you'll be able to use this picture and join along. So, we're going to use the Spot Healing Brush tool to start with, so let's click on that. Now the Spot Healing Brush tool is super easy to use. All you've got to do, let's zoom in, I'll show you. All you've got to do is just click on a blemish like this and Photoshop removes it for you and take care of it. Look at that, so simple. Let's zoom out just a little bit and let's just take care of these blemishes. Now the spot healing brush tool, which we're using at the moment, is perfect for small blemishes. When your blemishes get a little bit bigger, then you'll need to use a different tool. We're not going to go into that today. We're just going to use the spot healing brush tool because for the blemishes she has on her face, it's going to work a treat. Okay, so we've took care of some of the blemishes on the forehead. Let's just take care of these ones here as well. See, this is a bit of a bigger blemish here, and you could actually take care of that with another tool. But it's done a pretty good job this time, so we'll leave that the way it is. So we're just quickly going through, taking care of the blemishes, and all we're doing is just painting right on top of them. And then Photoshop uses its technology and takes a sample from the area close by and then replaces the blemish with that. Okay, so I'm not going to get rid of this mole here because that's actually a natural part of her face and that's not really a blemish. Okay, so we've took care of the blemishes in the picture. Now we could go into a lot more detail with that if we wanted to, but I actually think that it looks pretty good. And just so you can see that, let's click on the before and after on this layer. This is the before, this is the blemishes as you can see, and this is the after. We've took care of them with the spot healing brush tool. Okay, so that's the first stage of making the skin look better. The second stage is to add a nice blur to the skin. But before we can do this, we need to create a new layer. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to click down here to create a new layer. And now we need to add a stamp visible layer. If you've watched my tutorials before, you'll know that I actually use stamp visible layers quite a lot. But if you haven't, let's show you how you can do this. I'm just going to zoom out for a minute. To select a stamp visible layer, you want to press Shift, Control, Alt and E on your keyboard. It's a bit of a mouthful, that I know. It's Shift, Control, Alt and E. Now if you're on a Mac, the only way that changes at all is that you need to swap the Control key for the Command key. So we've now got this stamp visible layer popped up here. So let's quickly explain to you what this does. Basically put, a stamp visible layer is a copy of the layer below, everything on it. So let's show you this. I'm just going to move this around and you can see that I've got this copy of everything below. That's all it is. It's really easy to remember. Okay, so now I've got the stamp visible layer, I can go ahead and smooth the skin. How do we do this? Well, let's first create a selection around the skin. Okay, so to create a selection, we want to get a selection tool. The very best selection tool I think for this job is the quick selection tool, which is found here. Click on that and select it. And with the quick selection tool, it does exactly what it says on the box, which is it makes quick selections, and that's why it's perfect for a lot of selection making in Photoshop. So all you've got to do is click and drag on the area that you want to make a selection around. In this case, it's going to be the face and the neck, because that's the area where the skin is. Now, it's worth me letting you know that with this technique, you don't need to make a perfect selection. We do need to get rid of this ear because we don't want to be blurring that out. It's actually already blurred. How do we get rid of this part of the selection? Well, it's really simple. You can just come up to here, there's a minus sign, click on that, and now you can see in the middle of the brush, it's swapped it to a minus. Obviously, you'll probably remember from your maths days at school, minus means to take away from something, so all you're doing is taking away from the selection, which is exactly the same. So we've now removed the ear from the selection. Okay, we've made our selection then around the face and got the skin active here. So all we need to do now is press on Select and Mask. This is going to show us what part of our selection is active. So we've got around here and it's perfect around the face. Now you might be thinking, well, it's not perfect around the face, Ben, because it's all jagged. Now that's not really a problem, and that's because when we've blurred the skin, it's not going to look jagged like this anyway, so we don't have to make this selection look perfect. We can smooth it out a little bit just by clicking on the smooth button here. This will smooth out the edge a little bit, and then just push up feather, which will also feather the edge, and this has smoothed it out slightly. Now we've done that, let's come down to output 2, click there, and then make sure you click on new layer with layer mask. Then finally click on OK. This has now created a layer with a layer mask, and this means whatever we do to this layer mask we've created, which is the skin, is the only area which is going to be affected. This is because we don't want to make the hair blurred and the rest of the image. We just want to blur the skin. So make sure that you now click on the layer and not the mask. Come up to filter at the top, come down to blur, and then click on surface blur. As you can see now, the skin has been smoothed out beautifully. This is what surface blur does. Basically it smooths out an area or a selection, and you can see that it's done that in this image. Let's just come out a little bit and have a look at it. It's also done that down here on the neck. Now sometimes the effect can be a bit too strong. What I do, instead of bringing the radius and the threshold up, which are the areas which you can control the blur in, I like to go ahead, click OK, and then come down to opacity. And this enables me, if I just zoom in a minute, to change the strength of the effect. So if I bring the opacity down, you can do that by clicking here and then just dragging it down. You'll see how I'm now blended it in a little bit more to the skin. I think we can push it up a little bit more and still make it look realistic. So I'm going to leave it at about 60%, and that looks natural. We've smoothed the skin out, but we've still got some of the texture coming through. The very last thing that we need to do is we need to just make sure that we cover over the eyes, the eyebrows and the mouth. And this is because we don't want these areas blurred. We want the eyes to be quite sharp, and we also want the mouth to be quite sharp. Now it's really easy to take care of this. All you need to do is come onto your mask here, make sure it's selected, come over to the brush tool, which can be found over here, and with black selected, because we want to hide the blur, all we need to do is paint over these areas. Ensure your brush size is correct, push the flow up, and then I'm just going to paint over this and hide the blur from the eyes. And this just brings back the sharpness and the detail in the eyes and the mouth. Okay, so now it's really important to have a look at the before and the after. So get your layers together here by shift clicking on the other layer. When you've got the two highlighted, press Control or Command if you're on a Mac, and G. This is going to group your layers together, keep them nice and organised, and then let's have a look at the before and the after. So this is the before. You can see the imperfections, the blemishes, and the skin is not very smooth, it doesn't look particularly great. And then let's have a look at the after. The blemishes have been removed by using the spot healing brush tool at the start, and also the skin is nice and smooth. So that really wasn't that difficult, was it? All we did was to use the spot healing brush tool at the start, and then we used that to take care of the blemishes in the skin. After we'd done that, then we moved on to use the surface blur, and then we smoothed out the skin to make it look really delicious. If this is something you're interested in learning more about, portrait and beauty retouching, then make sure you check out my courses. What I'll do is I'll leave a link to them in the description area of YouTube, and I'll make sure that that link takes you to about an 80% coupon, which means you'll get 80% off the course, and you pretty much get it next to nothing. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial, okay? And if you have, make sure you hit the like button on YouTube. Lets me know I've done a good job, and it's good to see that you guys are enjoying the content I'm making. I have no plans to go anywhere. I love doing this job and making videos for people to enjoy. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and then join our community. Now, whatever you do today, guys, I hope you have a great day and I hope to see you all again really soon.